So often we approach sex as if the other person was a mind reader and they could see us and know exactly what we want. Well, they don't. The things that we might have enjoyed before menopause might not be the same. And so why don't we open this playground where I get to discover you and you get to discover me, and then we see what magic is there.
Let's move into the new dating paradigm.
I think that's a really powerful space to be in, because especially around menopause, this invitation to not outsource your desire or your eros, but actually get to know yourself so well that you fill your own cup before you pour into another. And that's when the fun really starts.
Muriel, welcome to MenoPositive.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's move into the new dating paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you want to redate your partner, but if you're single, if you're finding yourself single at this stage of life, or if that's just the life that you have chosen, I think dating has changed so much. What I hear from friends too is, oh gosh, you meet online, you go for a drink, and it feels that it's like it's going to just be a sexual exchange. You don't have a lot of this time to get to know each other anymore. How do you advise women who are in that space right now?
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful space to be in, because especially around menopause, this invitation to not outsource your desire or your eros, but actually get to know yourself so well that you fill your own cup before you pour into another, or because you have someone else pour into yours. And so this idea is, I get so connected to my sexual energy and my power, my desire, my nervous system, my communication, that when I do meet someone in the dating world, I know exactly what I want. I know my desires. I know my boundaries. I know exactly what I'm not available for. And I have the capacity to speak my boundaries, right? And to ask for what I want. And when I come to any sort of encounter with another person in that frequency of, I am in my power, I know my body, I touch my body in the most delicious way, I'm my best lover, then when whoever's coming in is the cherry on top, if they are the cherry on top. But I'm going to meet them in my power, not coming from a place of, I need you to fill a void inside of me, but I'm already full. And if you're full, then we can have a lot of fun together or go deep into love making, whatever, however you want to call it. But coming from that place of sovereignty and empowerment and erotic aliveness is going to change the game. Because again, you're going to attract that. You're going to attract someone who's in their power, who's filling their own cup. And then you can fill each other's cup to the brim and overflow, and it's going to be incredibly delicious. And you're going to have a very mature and adult conversation about what gets to happen. And that's when the fun really starts.
You said there was an interesting communication.
Yes.
What's the language
It's a
there?
framework.
A
Yes.
communication framework.
Yes, I love that. And that's called the RBDSM. And that's a framework that's great to use with strangers or people that you've just met and that you want to be intimate with. And a shorter version of that we can also use in partnership, which I can share with you. So RBDSM, R stands for relationship. So let's say I've met someone and I feel attracted to them and I want to be intimate with them. The empowered woman sits them down and is like, hey, let's have a chat before we get intimate. Let's have this RBDSM conversation. So R stands for relationship. What is your relationship status? Are you married? Are you single? Are you in a polyamorous relationship? What's your relationship style? That's a great thing to know before you get intimate with someone, because it also opens the door to someone being like, oh yeah, actually I do have a girlfriend. And you can make the decision if that's something that you want to engage in. So that's the R. B is boundaries. So incredibly important. And again, a big reclamation of our power when we learn to speak about our no. I like to go into hard boundaries and soft boundaries. Hard boundaries are things that will not, under any circumstance, change in that encounter. Right? Boundaries are always sort of fluent and they can change. However, when you set hard boundaries, it's a boundary that you set when your neocortex is online and you know yourself and you're like, I don't want to do this. So let's say you've just met that person and you know when you're clear and sober, I don't want to have penetrative sex with that person because I don't know them. It just feels like that. So you set that hard boundary while your neocortex is on. And then there's soft boundaries. And that soft boundary could be, I don't want anal sex tonight. However, there might be a moment where I change my mind. So that's why it's a soft boundary. So I could change that because it doesn't feel like it's, I would cross my own boundaries. Because the thing is, when we get into exchanging energy and Eros moves and there's the heat of the moment, what can happen is, or what happens is our neocortex switches off. We're in our animal body, we're in lust, we're in desire. And if we then change our boundaries, we might override our own boundaries. And so when you have these conversations about your boundaries prior to being in that trance state, in that energetic state of Eros, then you're really taking care of yourself. And when you're then with a partner who also expresses their boundaries, you become each other's gatekeeper of the boundaries, guardians of the boundaries, right? And that is sexy. When you are with someone who listens to your boundaries and you start to change your mind in the moment, you're like, actually, I do want penetrative sex. And they're like, babe, let's take a moment. You've just said that's your hard boundary. Let's breathe. Let's give it space and see if when you're a bit like calmed down, you're like, you still want to change that boundary. Oh my God. There's nothing sexier than someone honoring that.
Yeah, so hot.
Oh, so hot. And that can be with someone, that can be in your marriage as well. That shit bonds you.
I could also see eye contact,
Oh,
more eye contact in that moment.
yeah.
That
Because you're
release of,
checking in with each other, and it's the ultimate level of care. So you have that boundary conversation before you have sex. And then RBD, D is desires. So you have a conversation about desires. And you talk about, what do I actually want right now? And that's a really powerful, vulnerable, juicy thing to feel into and then express. So you're sitting there with each other. Maybe you're sitting in Yap Yam, which is the lotus position where the man sits cross-legged and the woman sits, it's a tantric position. The woman is straddling him and your chakras, your channels are aligned. And you just have that beautiful, intimate conversation. And you're just tuning into, what do I actually want right now? And maybe you just go into the flavor of what you want. And maybe you're like, today I'm feeling really, like I really desire softness and gentleness. And I want a bit of a sort of vanilla style sex, love making. I want to feel your heart. And maybe then they share and they're like, I would really like for you to give me a blowjob and look into my eyes. And you have this
you can't do
moment.
that at the same time, can you?
Yeah. Yes, you can.
Sorry, I'm just trying to picture it.
Yes. And it's one of the most intimate things you can do.
Wow.
And so you have that conversation and there's this rapport and the idea is not, and because a lot of people then like, yeah, but then you know what's going to happen. No, you don't. You speak about the flavor, you express your desires, and anything around is happening, can happen, and anything is possible, and desires can change. But it's this beautiful moment of like, I can give this to you if that's within my consent, and vice versa. And we can it just becomes so much more juicy. RBDS. S is a really big one, especially for situations where you're with a new person. S is about sexual health. So you have a conversation about, when did you last get tested? Do you have any sort of history with sexual transmitted diseases or illnesses? Let's have an open chat. Again, we don't do that enough, and that's incredibly important. And then M. M is meaning. And meaning is about, what does this mean to you? If we've just met, are you looking for a relationship? Do you want this to be casual? Are you a one-night stand kind of person? Or maybe it's like, I really like you and I really like your energy and I want to be intimate with you. And I don't know where this is leading. To be really honest, I don't know where it's going, but this is where I'm at. Amazing. There's so much transparency suddenly in the room that you can play with. And what that does is it gives you safety.
And are you recommending, like, you have this conversation over a drink or like over dinner, or how?
So if we're talking, I mean, personally, if we're talking conscious sexuality and tantra, I would say an alcohol-free drink. um, I mean, I would do it in a setting, not in a restaurant, unless that's your vibe. But maybe some people need a bit more of a safe container to speak about their desires and about what they want in the bedroom. But have it when you go into that space. Maybe you're sitting in a bar and you're really close to each other, and you can like have that juicy conversation. That's your vibe. Like feel into what they might be open to as well.
And I think these are interesting conversations to check in with if you do have a partner as well.
It's
Just check in
amazing.
with each other.
Yeah. And I think, especially talking about desires and boundaries before sexual encounters with your partner are so empowering and so beautiful because it might be the case that you want soft and gentle and they want hard and rough and you're completely mismatched. And so you can speak about what could meet both of your desires and needs in that moment.
And it's like I said earlier, I feel there is so much unsaid around this topic in the bedroom, and to just sit down and connect, because you can have it hard sometimes, and sometimes you can have it all. We
Yeah.
can have it all, but you need to have the conversation
Yeah.
and that understanding of each other. Then it becomes so beautiful and erotic to also be able to give your partner what they want and then to get what you want as well.
Totally. Because so often we approach sex as if the other person was a mind reader and they could see us and know exactly what we want. Well, they don't. And the types of communications that you can open, you just give so much space for everyone's needs and desires to be met and fulfilled and to just make sex a so much more connecting and intimate practice. And it's also this idea of letting go of this notion that we all are inherently good at sex and that sex is something we need to be good at, when really it's something that we get to practice with each other, and to approach sex and intimacy from this angle of playfulness and exploration and discovery, especially in menopause and beyond, is so powerful because we rediscover ourselves really. And our partners get to rediscover us because the things that we might have enjoyed before menopause might not be the same. And so, why don't we open this playground where I get to discover you and you get to discover me, and then we see what magic is there?
And I love this idea of exploring that together. As women going through that transition, we are discovering who we're becoming, the things we're going to let go of, and the things we want to walk into, or the things we want to try. And maybe we're not going to like it, but at least we can try it. And having that together with your partner is it can be an amazing, powerful, fun thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You can make it fun when you take out the seriousness, and you go into new practices. Like we've talked about the sort of more energetic pathway to pleasure, a more tantric approach to sexuality. You explore new things and it's new for both of you. And there's just something in that takes a bit of that pressure out of it and that can allow both to relax.
And I think if you are practicing it individually, if you are single, you can still do the same thing. And how empowering this can be for you when you then walk into the dating
Oh my God,
world.
totally. And then you come with this set of skills, right? And this set of sort of, this is my standard and this is how I treat myself. So unless you're treating me the same way or better, then we're not a match. Fantastic. And then you meet someone, you're like, ooh, I like them. They're attractive. Let's go and play. You come in there and you're like, this is what I want. And this is what I'm available for. And how would you feel about trying that? I've learned this cool new thing. Are you up for this? Amazing.
Muriel, it has been so lovely speaking to you. Thank you for giving us permission to be more adventurous or explore a little more. For everybody listening, if you would like to look into Muriel and participating in one of her workshops, or doing some one-on-one, she's got some great offers for you as a thank you for listening to the episode. Muriel, again, thank you again for being on MenoPositive and being part of our community.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And if you're listening and feel called to share your journey with us or your favorite bits from today, please rate and review this episode and join the conversation on Instagram at menopositive.life. It really does make a big difference. See you next time.
I got a good feeling.